Namaskar viewers and listeners of the Great Game Reloaded. I am Tilak Divesha. South Asia's diplomacy is being rewritten and rattling Pakistan's nerves. Afghanistan's Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi was in Delhi. He held talks with India's External Affairs Minister Shri S. Jaishankar and called India a close friend. Not only was this the first high-level Taliban visit to India since their return to power in Kabul in August 2021, but it was also the first face-to-face high-level bilateral political contact. Yes, the same Taliban that had taken over Kabul in 2021, prompting India to evacuate its entire embassy, recall its diplomats and cancel thousands of Afghan visas. And during this visit, something remarkable happened. India and Afghanistan issued a joint statement, one that referred to Jammu and Kashmir as part of India, condemned terrorism and reaffirmed their friendship.
We have a common commitment towards growth and prosperity. However, these are endangered by the shared threat of cross-border terrorism that both our nations face. We must coordinate efforts to combat terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. We appreciate your sensitivity towards India's security concerns. Your solidarity with us in the aftermath of the Pahalgam terrorist attack was noteworthy.
That single line, just one sentence, has thrown Islamabad into a diplomatic frenzy. Pakistan summoned the Afghan envoy, issued protests, and accused both New Delhi and Kabul of violating UN resolutions. So what's changed? Why did India meet the Taliban now? What does Muttaqi's visit mean for India-Afghan relations? Why is Pakistan so rattled? And what does this visit mean for South Asia and the region's power balance? Let us unpack this. Why now? Because the map of the region has changed, and so has the logic of diplomacy. Pakistan and the Taliban are at war with each other. China is digging deep into Afghan mines and roads. Russia and Iran are exploring their own channels. And India? It's re-entering the Afghan equation, quietly, strategically, and on its own terms. Because this visit marks the beginning of open engagement between India and the Taliban. For New Delhi, this is not about ideology, but about interests, security, connectivity, and influence. The Taliban are relevant, and India knows that ignoring them would be reducing diplomatic options in a strategic part of the region. For the Taliban, it's about legitimacy. They want recognition, investment, and engagement. And they know India can offer all three without the kind of conditions Western nations attach. Not to forget, India and Afghanistan share a relationship older than their borders. Centuries of trade, culture, and migration links them. In modern times, India became Afghanistan's most trusted development partner, building dams, highways, hospitals, schools, and the Afghan parliament. That's not politics, that's partnership. And that's exactly the message New Delhi is sending now, that its bond is with the Afghan people, not just whoever sits in Kabul. So this visit and the joint statement isn't just about diplomacy. It's about rebuilding a connection that never truly broke. New Delhi's priorities are clear. Prevent Afghanistan from becoming a hub for anti-India terror groups. Protect the billions invested in Afghan reconstruction since 2001. Ensure access to Central Asia and Iran for trade and connectivity. Counter Pakistan's narrative by engaging directly with Kabul. For the Taliban, this visit is equally significant. They are seeking legitimacy, recognition, development, and investment. They want to show that they are not isolated, that they can engage with major regional powers like India. It diversifies their foreign policy beyond Pakistan and China. And it opens the door to trade, medical aid, and regional connectivity. And they're doing this at a time when their ties with Pakistan have soured beyond repair and hostilities have broken out. Once Islamabad's proteges, the Taliban have now pushed back, accusing Pakistan of airstrikes, border violations, and interference. The Taliban are saying, we are independent. We are not Pakistan's puppets.
अफगानिस्तान एक आज़ाद खुद मुख्तार मुल्क है और इससे बाद भी आज़ाद और खुद मुख्तार होता है.
Let's rewind a bit to understand the true import of the visit. When the Taliban captured Kabul in August 2021, India withdrew its diplomatic presence. Since then, it has been a slow thaw, cautious and deliberate, with India's Afghan policy being quietly reimagined. First, a technical office in June 2022 to oversee humanitarian aid, the 50,000 tons of wheat sent to Afghanistan on request. That technical office is now being upgraded to an embassy. Then, in January 2025, Indian Foreign Secretary met Amir Khan Muttaqi in Dubai. In May 2025, Muttaqi spoke to EAM Jaishankar over phone, condemning the Pahalgam terror attack. Let's be clear, India hasn't recognized the Taliban regime, but it's engaging with them, what diplomats call functional engagement, a diplomatic middle path. It allows India to talk, trade, and cooperate with the Taliban without granting them legitimacy. The agenda of the talks has been a mix of security, development, and diplomacy. First, security. India wants assurances that Afghan soil will not be used for terrorism. This is not theoretical. Delhi still remembers Pakistan's relocation of terror groups like the Jaish-e-Mohammed and the Lashkar-e-Taiba to camps in Afghanistan. During talks, Muttaqi assured that no group or individual would be allowed to use Afghanistan's territory against India. Then, humanitarian assistance. India has been one of the largest contributors of humanitarian aid to Afghanistan. Since 2021, India has supplied 50,000 tons of wheat, 330 tons of medicines, 40,000 litres of pesticides, and when powerful earthquakes hit Herat and eastern Afghanistan in September, India was among the first responders, sending tents, food, and medical aid, over 36 tons of earthquake relief. Now, India has pledged even more, 20 new ambulances for Afghan hospitals, a 30-bed hospital in Kabul's Bagrami district, a trauma center, oncology center, and 5 maternity clinics across Paktika, Khost, and Paktia. Next, education and capacity building. India will expand scholarships for Afghan students under the ICCR and EICCR schemes. Thousands of Afghans already study in Indian universities. This is one of India's most powerful soft power tools. And finally, connectivity and trade. Both sides have agreed to operationalize the India-Afghanistan air freight corridor, connecting Delhi and Kabul directly for goods and commerce. Afghan traders are also inviting Indian companies to invest in mining and manufacture, sectors critical to Afghanistan's recovery. India's infrastructure development would build upon earlier projects, the Afghan Parliament, the Salma Dam, and the Zaranj-Dalaram Highway. During his press conference in Delhi, Amir Khan Muttaqi called India a close friend. That's a statement that would have been impossible earlier by any Taliban leader. The joint statement referred to, and I quote, the terrorist attack in Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir, India, on 22nd April 2025, unquote. Within hours of the joint statement, Pakistan erupted. Its foreign office summoned the Afghan ambassador. It accused Kabul of endorsing India's quote-unquote illegal claim over Jammu and Kashmir. It said, and I quote, "The reference to Jammu and Kashmir as part of India is a clear violation of UN Security Council resolutions," unquote. Islamabad called the joint statement, quote, "insensitive to the sacrifices of the Kashmiri people," unquote. In plain terms, Pakistan couldn't digest that the Taliban it once sponsored just stood beside India in India and called Kashmir Indian territory. And there was another reason for the outrage. During his speech, Shri S. Jaishankar referred to Afghanistan as a, quote, "contiguous neighbor of India," unquote. That phrase was not accidental. India and Afghanistan are connected through a 106-kilometer border, the Wakhan corridor, which lies in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. By using that term, Jaishankar was sending a message, loud and clear. Afghanistan is India's neighbor through the land Pakistan illegally occupies. It was a subtle, surgical reminder of geography and legality, and it stung. Because for Pakistan, this was a double blow, diplomatic and symbolic. For decades, Pakistan called itself the victim of terror, blaming Afghanistan, India and everyone else. Now the tables have turned. In Delhi, Muttaqi said that terrorism was Pakistan's internal issue. He denied that Afghan soil was being used for attacks inside Pakistan. Islamabad fired back, saying anti-Pakistan groups were operating from Afghan territory. It accused Kabul of sheltering the TTP, the Pakistani Taliban. But the damage was done. For the first time in history, the Taliban publicly accused Pakistan of exporting instability, while India, their old adversary, was being called a close friend. That's not just a shift in diplomacy. That's a reversal in identity. Meanwhile, Pakistan is fighting multiple battles at home and abroad. Terror attacks have surged inside its borders. Its economy is on life support, and now its traditional allies are distancing themselves. Even the Taliban, once a Pakistani creation, are pursuing independent diplomacy. Of course, India's engagement with the Taliban isn't without criticism. Human rights groups question how New Delhi can talk to a regime that bans girls from schools and women from work. It's a fair question, and one India will keep facing. But here's the counterpoint. Isolation hasn't changed the Taliban either. Engagement might. And for India, this is about protecting its citizens, investments and influence, not about validating the Taliban's ideology. That's why New Delhi's tone remains measured. Help the Afghan people. Let's look at the big picture. Russia has recognized the Taliban. China is already investing in Afghan infrastructure and mining. And the US is quietly re-evaluating its lost influence, eyeing Bagram Air Base. Caught between these shifting powers, India has decided that distance is no longer strategy. Neither is ignoring reality strategy. Engagement is. India's engagement signals a new regional order, one where decisions about South Asia are made within South Asia. There's an old India saying, "He who would want to be emperor of Delhi must first control Kabul." The reason was that all invasions into India had to come via the land route, that is, Afghanistan. Only the last invasion, Britain, was from the sea. That's why Afghanistan is too important for India to ignore, because geography doesn't change with governments. Today, it is not about control, but about trade routes that connects India to Iran, to Turkmenistan and beyond. That's why India invested heavily in the Chabahar port in Iran and why it continues to coordinate trade routes through Afghan territory. It is also about ensuring that terrorists do not use Afghan territory against India. Pakistan is nervously watching from the sidelines, furious that its once strategic asset is shaking hands with the very country it considers its enemy. For decades, Pakistan treated Afghanistan as its backyard. The Taliban were their proteges. That is no longer true. Islamabad's strikes inside Afghan territory and its accusations that the Taliban are ungrateful and the Pakistan Defence Minister calling Afghanistan quote-unquote enemy country have created deep hostility. This rift gives India an opening, a rare moment to engage Kabul directly without Pakistani interference about being present in a region that affects its own security. So what does all of this mean? Amir Khan Muttaqi's visit to India marks more than just a diplomatic thaw. It marks a strategic recalibration for New Delhi, for Kabul and for Islamabad. India is proving that quiet engagement works better than loud condemnation. The Taliban are realizing that Pakistan's shadow is no longer a shelter. And Pakistan is realizing that it is fast running out of narratives. The Kashmir card doesn't carry the same weight anymore, not when even the Taliban are talking about Kashmir as Indian territory. For India, it's a diplomatic win. For the Taliban, it's a step towards legitimacy. And for Pakistan, it's another self-inflicted wound in a long series of miscalculations. In diplomacy, the map changes quietly. And this week, that change happened in New Delhi, not Islamabad. I am Tilak Divesha. Thank you for watching. Do like, share and comment. Namaskar and Jai Hind.